Is this 555-0147? I check my phone. Yes, but... And you're listed as Sophie Colton's mother, married to Ryan Colton? My blood went cold. There must be some mistake. I'm married to Ryan Colton, but we don't have any children. The nurse sounded confused now, too. I'm looking at Sophie's file right here. Emergency contact is Ryan Colton, father, and the secondary contact is this number, listed as the mother. We've called the father's number multiple times, but he's not answering. How old is this child? I asked, my heart pounding. Sophie is 7. 7 years old. Ryan and I have been married for 12 years. My mind was racing through possibilities. Maybe Ryan had a daughter from a previous relationship he never told me about? But no, he'd never been married before me. Never mentioned any kids. I need to call my husband, I said. There's been some kind of mistake. Ma'am, I need someone to pick up Sophie. She's quite upset. If you're not her mother, is there someone else we can call? Do you have an address on file? For where she lives? The nurse hesitated. I can't give out that information, but I can tell you that her father Ryan Colton is listed at 2847 Maple Drive. That wasn't our address. We live at 1205 Oak Street. My hands were shaking. I'll be there in 20 minutes, I said. Can you text me the school address?
She did.
The school was about 30 minutes from our house, in a neighborhood I'd never had any reason to go to. I told my boss I had a family emergency and left. During the drive, I tried calling Ryan. It went straight to voicemail. I tried 3 more times. Nothing. My mind was spiraling. Maybe this was a case of mistaken identity. Maybe there was another Ryan Colton with a daughter, and somehow phone numbers got mixed up. But the nurse had said I was listed as the mother. How would that even happen? When I arrived at the school, I went to the office. The nurse, a kind-looking woman in her 50s, looked up as I entered. Mrs. Colton? Yes. I'm here about Sophie. She looked at me carefully. You said on the phone you don't have a daughter? I don't. There's been some mistake. But I'm married to Ryan Colton and your records show my phone number, so I came to figure out what's happening. The nurse pulled up something on her computer, then looked at me, then back at the screen. Can I see your ID? I showed her my driver's license. She compared it to something on screen, and her expression changed to concern. I think you need to see this, she said quietly, turning the monitor toward me. On the screen was a student information form for Sophie Marie Colton, age 7. Date of birth, March 15, 2017. Father, Ryan James Colton. Mother, Jennifer Marie Colton. Address, 2847 Maple Drive. Emergency contact. Father's cell phone, then the mother's number, which was my cell phone number. But the mother's name wasn't mine. It was Jennifer. Who is Jennifer? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The nurse looked uncomfortable. I think there's been some kind of situation here. Do you want me to call the police? No, I need to see Sophie. Is that allowed? You're listed as an emergency contact, so technically yes, but given the circumstances... Please, I said. I just need to understand what's happening. The nurse studied me for a moment, then nodded. I'll bring her out. But if she doesn't recognize you, we're going to need to sort this out differently. She left and returned a few minutes later with a little girl. Sophie had dark hair like Ryan's and brown eyes. She was holding an ice pack to her elbow and looked scared. She looked at me with no recognition at all. Do you know this lady? The nurse asked gently. Sophie shook her head. That's not my mommy. My mommy has blonde hair. The nurse looked at me. I felt like I was going to be sick. Sophie, I said, kneeling down to her level. Is your daddy named Ryan? She nodded. What does your daddy do for work? He sells hospital stuff. He travels a lot. It was him. It was definitely him. Where's your mommy today? I asked. She's at work. She's a teacher. And do you have any brothers or sisters? I have a baby brother. His name is Max. He's 2 years old. A son. Ryan had a son too. I looked up at the nurse, my eyes filling with tears. Can you try his number again? Please?
She did. Still no answer.
Sophie, I said, trying to keep my voice calm even though I was falling apart inside. I'm going to take you home, okay? To your house on Maple Drive. She looked uncertain. Are you a friend of my mommy's? Something like that, I managed to say. The nurse pulled me aside. Are you sure about this? I can call. Please, I interrupted. I need to see this for myself. I need to understand what's happening. She reluctantly agreed, making me sign some paperwork. As Sophie gathered her backpack, I noticed a family photo pinned to the inside. Ryan, a blonde woman I'd never seen before, Sophie, and a toddler boy. They were at the beach, all smiling. Ryan's arm was around the woman's shoulders. The photo looked recent. Ryan was wearing a shirt I recognized. I'd given it to him for his birthday last year. The drive to Maple Drive was surreal. Sophie chatted from the back seat about her day, about how she'd fallen off the monkey bars, about how she hoped her mommy wouldn't be mad about her scraped elbow. Does your daddy travel a lot for work? I asked, trying to keep my voice normal. Yeah, like all the time. But he always brings us presents when he comes home. Last time he brought me a stuffed unicorn. When was he home last? He left on Monday. He said he'd be back on Friday for Max's birthday party this weekend.
Today was Wednesday.
According to Sophie, Ryan had been at this house until Monday. But on Monday, Ryan had been at our house. We'd had dinner together. He'd kissed me goodbye Tuesday morning, saying he had to leave for a week-long trip to Seattle. 2847 Maple Drive was a beautiful two-story colonial in a nice family neighborhood. There was a swing set in the yard, a basketball hoop in the driveway, a minivan parked outside with a "My child is an honor student" bumper sticker. This wasn't some temporary situation. This was a home, a life. That's my house, Sophie said excitedly as we pulled up. I parked and helped her out. She pulled out a key from her backpack. She had a house key at age 7 and opened the door. Mommy, I'm home, she called out. No answer. Right, the mother was at work. Jennifer, can I get a snack? Sophie asked. Sure, sweetie, I said numbly. While she went to the kitchen, I looked around. The house was immaculate. Family photos covered the walls. Ryan and Jennifer's wedding photo. They'd gotten married. Baby pictures of Sophie. Newborn photos of Max. Holiday photos. Vacation photos. Years and years of photos. On the mantel was last year's Christmas card. Happy holidays from the Colton family. Ryan, Jennifer, Sophie, and baby Max, all wearing matching red sweaters. I picked up the card with shaking hands. On the back was a printed message, wishing you joy and peace this holiday season. Ryan, Jennifer, Sophie, and Max. Last Christmas, Ryan had been with me. We'd spent Christmas Eve with my parents, Christmas Day just the two of us. He'd given me diamond earrings. We'd made love by the fireplace. But he'd also had this Christmas card printed, this family photo taken, this other life documented and shared. I heard Sophie in the kitchen, humming as she ate her snack. I wandered down the hallway in a daze. The master bedroom was at the end of the hall. I pushed open the door. It was clearly shared by a couple. A king-sized bed with matching nightstands. Men's and women's clothing in the closet. On one nightstand was a photo of Ryan and Jennifer on a beach somewhere, kissing at sunset. On the other nightstand was a Father's Day card that read, "To the best daddy in the world," with Sophie's handwriting inside. In the closet, I found Ryan's clothes. Lots of them. Not just a few items, an entire wardrobe. Suits, casual clothes, shoes, everything. I recognized some of the items. Shirts I thought he kept at hotels for convenience. Pants I thought he stored at the office. On the dresser was a family calendar. Ryan's travel schedule was marked in blue. Ryan home appeared on the calendar roughly 40% of the time, usually blocks of 3 to 4 days at a time. I cross-referenced it mentally with my own life. The days Ryan was marked home on this calendar corresponded with the days he was supposed to be traveling for work according to what he told me. When he told me he was traveling, he was here. When he told them he was traveling, he was with me. He'd been living 2 complete lives. 2 homes. 2 families. I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience. This couldn't be real. But it was. The evidence was everywhere around me. I took photos. Lots of photos. The Christmas card, the family photos on the walls, the calendar, the closet full of Ryan's clothes, the wedding photo. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely hold my phone steady. From the kitchen, I heard Sophie call out, "Can I watch TV?" "Sure, honey," I called back, my voice cracking. I sat down on the edge of Ryan and Jennifer's bed, because that's what it was, their bed, and tried to process what I discovered. 8 years. Based on the oldest photos I could see of Sophie, this had been going on for at least 8 years. Ryan had started this other family when Sophie was born, which means Jennifer had gotten pregnant around 9 years ago. We'd been married 3 years at that point. During the time I was going through IVF, desperately trying to have a baby with Ryan, he was already a father. He had a daughter. And then, 5 years later, while we were accepting our childless fate and talking about traveling more and enjoying our life together, he had a son with Jennifer. I heard the front door open downstairs. "Sophie? Baby, are you home?" The school said they couldn't reach Daddy. A woman's voice. "Jennifer." She was home. I heard Sophie. "A lady brought me home. She's upstairs." Footsteps on the stairs, rapid and confused. Then Jennifer appeared in the bedroom doorway. She was pretty, blonde, probably in her early 30s. She was wearing teacher clothes, slacks, and a cardigan. She looked at me, sitting on her bed, and her expression went from confused to alarmed.
Who are you?
"What are you doing in my house?" I stood up slowly. "I'm Nicole, Ryan's wife." The color drained from her face.
What?
"The school called me by mistake. My number is listed as Sophie's emergency contact. They thought I was you." Jennifer grabbed the doorframe for support. "That's not. Ryan isn't married. He was married before, years ago, but they divorced before we met." "We've been married for 12 years, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "We got married in June of 2012. We live at 1205 Oak Street. We've been together for 14 years. "No," Jennifer shook her head. "No, that's not possible. We've been married for 8 years. We got married when I found out I was pregnant with Sophie." "Did you have a wedding?" I asked. She hesitated. We went to the courthouse.
It was small, just us."
Ryan said he didn't want a big wedding because his first marriage ended so badly and it brought up painful memories. I understood. We had a small reception with my family later. "Did you see the marriage certificate?" "Of course She trailed off, uncertainty crossing her face. "He handled all the paperwork. He said he'd take care of filing everything." "You're not legally married to him," I said quietly. "Because he's legally married to me. I've seen the photos downstairs. You've been together for 8 or 9 years. He's been with me for 14. He's been living 2 lives this entire time." Jennifer's legs seemed to give out. She sat down hard on the top stair. "This isn't real. This can't be real." I showed her my phone, photos from my own life. My wedding photos with Ryan. Photos of us at our house. Recent photos from last month. My driver's license showing my married name. She looked through them, her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "I don't understand," she whispered. "We have a life together. We have children together. We have this house. How could he?" "He travels for work," I said. "At least that part is true. He does work in medical equipment sales. But he's been using his travel schedule to split his time between us." From downstairs, Sophie called out, "Mommy, are you okay?" Jennifer wiped her face quickly. "I'm fine, baby. Stay downstairs and watch your show." She looked at me, her expression now hardening with anger and horror. "He has a son. Max is 2 years old." "I know," Sophie told me. "Does he? Do you have children with him?" "No," I said, and the word came out like a sob. "We tried for years. IVF, fertility treatments, everything. It never worked. We finally stopped trying 2 years ago." The irony wasn't lost on either of us. While I was going through painful fertility treatments, Ryan was already a father. And then, while we were mourning our inability to have children, He had another baby with Jennifer. Where is Max now? I asked. Daycare. I need to pick him up in an hour. Jennifer's voice was mechanical in shock. We sat there in silence for a moment, two women whose entire realities had just shattered. We need to call him, Jennifer finally said. Together. We need to make him face this. I nodded. He's not answering my calls. He told me he was going to Seattle for a week. He told me he had a conference in Boston until Friday. She pulled out her phone and called him. It rang.
And rang.
Then went to voicemail. Ryan, it's me, she said, her voice shaking. I know about Nicole. She's here with me right now. You need to call us back immediately. We know everything. She hung up and looked at me. What do we do now? I don't know, I admitted. I'm still trying to process that this is real. I should hate you, Jennifer said suddenly. You're his wife. You've been his wife this whole time. While I thought I was building a life with him, while I was having his children, you were his actual wife. I didn't know, I said. I swear to you, I had no idea. If I had known. I believe you, she said, crying again. You look as destroyed as I feel. We went downstairs together. Sophie was watching TV, oblivious to the fact that her entire world was about to change. She looked up when we came down. Mommy, why are you crying? I'm okay, baby, Jennifer said, forcing a smile. This is Nicole. She's a friend of Daddy's. Sophie accepted this easily and went back to her show. Jennifer and I went into the kitchen. We sat at her kitchen table, a table I recognized from a Christmas photo, where Ryan sat at the head with his other family and tried to figure out what to do. How did we not know? Jennifer asked. 8 years. How did I not see any signs?
He was always traveling, I said.
That was the cover. When he was with you, I thought he was working. When he was with me, you thought he was working. But holidays? Birthdays? How did he manage? We started comparing notes. It was horrifying how well he'd orchestrated everything. Christmas. He'd spend Christmas Eve with me and my family, then claim he had to travel for work on Christmas Day. He'd spend Christmas Day with Jennifer and the kids. Thanksgiving. Alternated years. 1 year with me, 1 year with Jennifer. Always with an excuse about work or family obligations. Birthdays. Ryan's birthday in July, he'd celebrate with each of us on different days. Mine in March, he'd always been there. Jennifer's in November, he'd been there for that too. Sophie's in March. I realized with horror that he'd been at her birthday party the same weekend as my birthday. He'd given me a quick weekend trip as a gift and claimed he had to leave Saturday morning for work. He'd been at Sophie's birthday party. What about money? I asked. How did he afford 2 households? He makes good money, Jennifer said. He covers the mortgage here, utilities, gives me money for the kids. I work too, so I cover groceries and extras. I thought we were doing well financially. He told me he was investing a lot of our income, saving for retirement. I see the bank statements, money goes in, money goes out, it all looked normal. We realized he'd likely been using business expenses and creative accounting to fund both lives. And he did make a substantial income, so it was feasible if he was careful. Did he ever seem stressed? I asked. About maintaining all this?
Jennifer thought about it.
Sometimes he'd be tired, distracted. But he travels so much, I just thought it was the stress of work and being on the road constantly. And when he was here, he was a good dad. Attentive. Present. He was the same with me, I said quietly. When he was home, he was a good husband. That's why I never suspected. My phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. In a meeting, can't talk. Everything okay? I showed Jennifer. She grabbed my phone and typed. Call me.
Now.
It's an emergency. We waited. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. Nothing. Jennifer called him again from her phone. This time, he answered. Hey babe, I'm in a meeting, can I call you back? Jennifer put the phone on speaker. Ryan, I'm sitting here with your wife Nicole. You need to come home. Right now. Silence on the other end. Then, Jennifer, I can explain. Where are you really? Jennifer demanded. Don't lie. Where are you? I'm in Portland. I have a meeting. I checked my own records. He told me he was flying to Seattle this morning. Portland was drivable, about 4 hours from where we lived. You have 2 hours to get to this house, Jennifer said, her voice hard. If you're not here in 2 hours, I'm calling the police and reporting you for fraud and bigamy. Jennifer, please just let me. 2 hours, Ryan. I mean it. She hung up. We waited. Sophie eventually got bored with TV and started asking for snacks. Jennifer fed her, helped her with homework, acted as normal as possible. I sat there, numb, watching this routine that Ryan had been part of hundreds of times. A routine I'd never been part of, never would be part of, because I was the decoy wife, the fake life, the—
No. Wait.
Jennifer, I said slowly. Which one of us do you think is the real wife? She looked at me. What do you mean? I mean, we both think we're his wife. But I'm legally married to him. You had a ceremony, but no legal paperwork. In the eyes of the law, I'm his wife and you're— what? His girlfriend? His common law partner. But we have children together, she said. Sophie and Max. That makes us a family. It does, I agreed. But it doesn't make you his legal wife. We sat with that realization. I was the legal wife. She was the mother of his children. Neither position seemed better than the other. We were both victims of his lies. An hour and 45 minutes later, we heard a car in the driveway. Jennifer and I looked at each other. Sophie looked up from her coloring book. Daddy's home, she shouted excitedly and ran to the door. Ryan walked in, and I watched his face cycle through emotions. Confusion at seeing me there, panic, calculation, and finally, resignation. Sophie hugged his legs.
Daddy.
You're home early. This is Mommy's friend Nicole. Ryan looked at me, then at Jennifer, then back at me. Sophie, honey, why don't you go play in your room for a bit? Daddy needs to talk to Mommy. Can Nicole play with me? Not right now, sweetie. Go on upstairs. Sophie reluctantly went upstairs. Once we heard her door close, Jennifer spoke first. Sit down, Ryan. He sat. He looked defeated already, like he knew there was no talking his way out of this. How long have you been married to her? Jennifer asked, pointing at me. 12 years, Ryan said quietly. But, Jennifer, how long have we been together? 8 years. Since before Sophie was born. And you've been living 2 separate lives this entire time? 2 homes, 2 families, lying to both of us constantly? He didn't answer, just stared at his hands. I found my voice.
Why?
Just why? Why not just divorce me if you wanted to be with Jennifer? He looked up at me. It wasn't that simple. It literally was that simple. I said, my voice rising. You get a divorce. You marry Jennifer legitimately. You build one life instead of pretending to live 2. You don't understand, he said. Then explain it, Jennifer demanded. Make us understand why you did this to us. Why you lied for 8 years. Why you let me believe we were married. Why you have children with me while staying married to her. Ryan was quiet for a long moment. Then, I loved you both. That's not an answer, I said coldly. Nicole, we'd been married 3 years when I met Jennifer. You were focused on your career and we were happy, but then you got obsessed with having kids and IVF, and every month was about fertility and ovulation and disappointment. It was consuming our entire marriage. So, you found someone who could give you kids? I asked, my voice breaking.
No.
It wasn't like that. Jennifer and I met at a conference. We connected. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, but then she got pregnant, and I couldn't just abandon her. I couldn't abandon my child. But you could lie to both of us for 8 years? Jennifer said. I thought I could make it work, Ryan said desperately. I thought if I was careful enough, managed my time well enough, I could have both lives. I could be there for Sophie, for you, Jennifer, and still honor my commitment to Nicole. Your commitment to me? I laughed bitterly. You broke every vow we made the minute you decided to build a second family behind my back. And what about Max? Jennifer asked. When I got pregnant again, you could have stopped this then. You could have told the truth. But instead you let me have another baby. Let us keep building this life together, while lying the entire time. I know, Ryan said, and he was crying now. I know I should have stopped it, but I was in too deep. And I love Max. I love Sophie. I love both of you. I didn't know how to choose, so I just kept going. You're not a victim here, I said. You made these choices. Every day for 8 years, you chose to lie. You chose to deceive us. You chose to live this double life. We sat in awful silence. From upstairs, we could hear Sophie playing, oblivious to the fact that her family was disintegrating. What happens now? Jennifer finally asked. Ryan looked between us. I don't know. You need to leave, Jennifer said. You need to leave this house right now. I need time to think, and I don't want you here. Jennifer, please. Get out, she shouted. Get out of this house. You don't get to stay here with us after what you've done. Ryan looked at me. Are you? Don't. I cut him off. Don't you dare ask me if you can come home. You haven't had a home. You've had 2 staging areas for your lies. He stood up slowly, looking lost. I'm sorry. To both of you. I know that's not enough, but I am so sorry. Neither of us responded. He left, and we heard his car start and pull away. Jennifer and I sat there in silence again. What am I going to tell Sophie? Jennifer finally asked, her voice small. What do I tell my kids about their father? I don't know, I said honestly. Will you? She hesitated. Will you divorce him? I don't know that either. I need time to think, to process all of this. We exchanged numbers before I left. 2 women bound together by one man's massive betrayal, trying to figure out how to move forward. I drove home to the house I thought I shared with my husband, which turned out to be just one of his multiple residences. Everything looked different now. Every photo on the wall, every piece of furniture, every memory, all of it contaminated by the knowledge that it was only half a life. A part-time existence he maintained while having a fuller, more complete life somewhere else. When Ryan came home that night, yes, he had the audacity to come home. I was waiting. We need to talk, he said. No, I replied. You're going to listen. You're going to pack a bag. You're going to find somewhere else to stay. And tomorrow, you're going to meet me at a lawyer's office. This marriage is over. Nicole, please. You don't get to Nicole, please me, I said, my voice ice. You've been lying to me for 8 years. You had children with another woman while I was going through hell trying to have a baby with you. You built an entire second family while I thought we were building a life together. There's no coming back from this. I love you, he said desperately. You don't love me. You love having 2 women you can manipulate and control. You love living a double life and getting away with it. That's not love. That's narcissism. He packed a bag. Before he left, he turned to me one more time. For what it's worth, I did love you. I do love you. I also loved her. And I couldn't choose. Well, now you don't have to, I said. Because we're both done with you. That was 3 weeks ago. So much has happened since then that it's hard to keep track of everything. Jennifer and I have been in regular contact. We're not friends exactly. The situation is too strange and painful for that, but we're allies of a sort. We're both trying to navigate the same nightmare from different angles. She filed for child support immediately. She's also consulting with lawyers about potential fraud charges. Ryan apparently signed documents over the years claiming to be her legal husband, which could be prosecuted. I filed for divorce. The legal proceedings have been brutal. Ryan is trying to claim that he deserves half of everything, despite the fact that he's been using marital assets to fund his second family for years. My lawyer is going scorched earth. We're documenting everything. The second house, the years of deception, the misappropriation of marital funds. Ryan's looking at losing everything in the divorce, plus potentially facing criminal charges for fraud and bigamy. Even though he didn't legally marry Jennifer, he presented himself as her husband in legal documents. The financial investigation has been revealing. Ryan was making more money than he told either of us. He'd been skimming from both households to fund his double life, plus maintaining secret accounts and investments. My lawyer estimates he's hidden about $400,000 over the years. Ryan's employer was notified about the situation. Turns out, some of his business trips were actually personal time with his two families, billed as work expenses. He's currently on administrative leave, pending their own investigation. The impact on Jennifer and her kids has been devastating. Sophie keeps asking when Daddy is coming home. Jennifer has been trying to explain in age-appropriate terms that Daddy made some mistakes and won't be living with them anymore. But how do you explain to a 7-year-old that her entire family structure was built on lies? Max is too young to fully understand, but he's been asking for Dada and crying when Jennifer tells him Daddy can't come right now. For me, the grief is different but equally profound. I'm mourning a marriage that I thought was real, but turned out to be a part-time arrangement. I'm mourning the children I never had, while knowing my husband had them with someone else during the years we were supposedly trying together. I'm mourning the life I thought we were building, which was apparently just one of 2 lives he was constructing. Friends and family have been supportive, but I can see the questions in their eyes. How did you not know? Weren't there signs? Maybe there were. Maybe I missed them because I trusted him. Maybe I was too focused on my own life, my own career, my own grief over infertility to notice the inconsistencies. But mostly, I think he was just very, very good at lying. Ryan has been trying to maintain relationships with both of us, which is delusional. He sends me texts about how much he loves me and wants to work things out. He's been showing up at Jennifer's house. She had to get a restraining order, trying to see his kids. He doesn't seem to understand that he destroyed both relationships irreparably. That there's no working this out. That both of us are done with him completely. Last week, Jennifer and I met for coffee. It was surreal, sitting across from the woman my husband built a secret family with. But we needed to coordinate our legal strategies and make sure we weren't working against each other. "Do you hate me?" she asked at one point. "No," I said, and I meant it. "You didn't know about me either. We're both his victims." "I have his children, though," she said quietly. "That must hurt, knowing he had kids with me while you couldn't have them with him." "It does," I admitted. "It's one of the most painful parts of all of this. But those kids didn't ask for any of this. They're innocent in all of it." We talked about Sophie and Max. Jennifer showed me photos. They're beautiful kids, and I can see Ryan in both of them. It hurts to look at them, knowing they're the children I thought I'd have with him. But I'm also glad they exist, if that makes sense. They're real, and they deserve a good life, and Jennifer is a good mother trying to give them that despite everything. "What are you going to do?" I asked her. "Long term. Stay in the house if I can. It's good for the kids' stability. Fight for child support. Focus on being the best single mom I can be. And maybe, eventually, process my own grief about all of this." "Have you talked to a therapist?" "Started last week." "You?"
Yeah.
"Twice a week right now. I'm also on antidepressants because I wasn't sleeping or eating." We sat in silence for a moment. "It's weird," Jennifer said. "In another life, we might have been friends. We have a lot in common." "Terrible taste in men," I said, and we both laughed. Bitter, painful laughter, but laughter nonetheless. As for me, I'm slowly rebuilding. I've moved out of the house Ryan and I shared. Too many memories, too much pain. I'm renting an apartment while the divorce proceeds, and I figure out what I want my future to look like. Work has been a welcome distraction. My colleagues know something major happened. I took a week off immediately after discovering everything, but I've kept the details private. It's too complicated, too painful, and honestly too embarrassing to explain. I've been thinking a lot about the signs I missed. In retrospect, there were so many. Ryan was always protective of his phone. He'd never leave it lying around, always took it into the bathroom with him, slept with it on his nightstand face down. He never wanted me to show up at his work events unexpectedly. I thought he was just being professional, keeping work and personal life separate. His schedule was rigid. He'd know exactly when he'd be traveling weeks in advance. If I asked him to change plans, he'd get anxious and say it was impossible because of work commitments. He had 2 of everything. 2 phone chargers, 2 sets of toiletries, 2 gym bags. He said it was easier for travel. I believed him. He never wanted a video chat when he was away. Always said the Wi-Fi wasn't good enough or he was too tired. He'd sometimes slip and mention things he couldn't possibly know, like referencing a TV show I knew he'd never watched with me, or knowing about local news from when he was supposedly traveling. All these little things that I dismissed or rationalized because why would I think my husband was living a double life? That's not something normal people do. That's soap opera, not real life. Except it was real life. My real life. Update: 2 months later. The divorce is proceeding. My lawyer is confident we'll get a favorable settlement given the circumstances. Ryan will lose a significant portion of his assets, and rightfully so. Jennifer's child support case is also moving forward. Ryan's income has been fully disclosed. He tried to hide it, but forensic accountants found everything, and he'll be paying substantial monthly support for Sophie and Max. Between child support and the divorce settlement, Ryan is looking at losing about 70% of his income and assets. He's had to move into a small apartment and is apparently barely scraping by. I don't feel sorry for him. The most significant development: I met Sophie and Max. Jennifer reached out and asked if I'd be willing to meet them properly. She explained that Sophie was struggling with her dad's absence and the sudden changes, and Jennifer thought it might help her to understand the situation better, in age-appropriate ways. I was terrified, but I agreed. When I arrived at their house, Sophie answered the door. She recognized me from that first day. "You're the lady who brought me home from school," she said. "That's right. I'm Nicole." Jennifer invited me in. Max was in a playpen in the living room, playing with blocks. He looked up at me with Ryan's eyes, and I felt my chest tighten. Sophie was curious and talkative. "Are you friends with my mommy now?" "Something like that," I said. "Mommy says Daddy made some big mistakes, and that's why he doesn't live here anymore." "That's right. Did Daddy make mistakes with you too?" I looked at Jennifer, who nodded slightly. "Yes," I told Sophie.
He did.
"Are you sad?" "Very sad," I admitted.
Sophie thought about this.
Then she said, "Me too. I miss my daddy." We talked for a while. Sophie showed me her room, her toys, her artwork. She was a sweet kid, smart and funny. Max warmed up to me eventually, letting me stack blocks with him. Being there was surreal. This was the family Ryan had chosen to build while staying married to me. These were his children, the children I desperately wanted, that he'd had with someone else. But they were also just kids. Innocent kids who didn't ask for any of this. Before I left, Sophie asked, "Will you come back to visit?" I looked at Jennifer, uncertain. "You're welcome anytime," Jennifer said. "I've been back twice since then. I'm not trying to be a mother figure. Jennifer is their mother, and she's doing a great job under impossible circumstances. But I've become something like an aunt, maybe. A friendly adult in their lives who knows their story and doesn't judge them for their father's sins. It's weird and complicated, and sometimes painful. But it's also healing in an unexpected way. My therapist says I'm creating meaning from the tragedy. That by building a relationship with Jennifer and her kids, I'm refusing to let Ryan's lies destroy everything. I'm choosing connection over bitterness. Maybe that's true. Or maybe I just needed to meet the kids Ryan had with someone else, to see that they're real people, not just symbols of my loss. Update: 6 months later. The divorce is final. I got the house, which I'm selling, the majority of our shared assets, and a significant portion of Ryan's retirement accounts. His lawyer tried to fight it, but the evidence of his deception and misappropriation of marital funds was overwhelming. Ryan has limited visitation with Sophie and Max, supervised only, because Jennifer successfully argued that his pattern of deception made him an unreliable parent. He's bitter about this, apparently, but the court agreed with Jennifer's concerns. I haven't seen Ryan in person since the day I threw him out. All communication has been through lawyers. I have no desire to see him ever again. Jennifer and I have become unlikely friends. We get coffee every few weeks, text regularly, and I've been to her house several times. Sophie and Max have accepted me as a fixture in their lives. Sophie calls me Aunt Nicole, which feels both strange and right. People ask how this is possible, how Jennifer and I can be friends after what happened. The truth is, we're bonded by shared trauma. We both loved the same man, who turned out to be a lie. We both built our lives around someone who was living a double life. We're both trying to rebuild in the aftermath. And there's something powerful about being with someone who truly understands what you went through, because they went through it too. I've started dating again, carefully, slowly, with about 1,000,000 trust issues to work through. But I'm trying. My therapist says that's progress. I'm also pursuing fertility preservation. If I decide I want children in the future, I want that option available. It's expensive and emotionally complicated, but it feels like reclaiming something Ryan took from me, the choice of whether to be a parent. The biggest surprise? I'm okay.
Not every day.
Some days I wake up angry and bitter about the years I lost, the lies I believed, the life I thought I had. But more and more, I wake up feeling hopeful about the future. I'm building a new life, one that's actually mine, not half of a lie. I have real friendships, including an unexpected one with Jennifer. I have a good career. I have a therapist I trust and medication that helps. I'm learning to trust my own judgment again. And I have a story that people literally don't believe when I tell them. Your husband had a secret family for 8 years? They shake their heads. That's insane. It is insane. But it's also my reality, and I'm learning to live with it. Final update. 1 year later. It's been a year since that phone call from Sophie's school that changed everything. A year since I discovered my entire marriage was built on lies. A year since my world fell apart, and I had to rebuild from scratch. Here's where we all are now. Ryan, still living in his small apartment, paying child support and alimony, working at a new job. He was fired from his previous position after the investigation into his expense fraud. He occasionally tries to reach out to me through mutual friends, wanting to explain or apologize properly. I've blocked him on everything and refuse all contact. According to Jennifer, his relationship with Sophie and Max is strained. He gets supervised visitation twice a month, but Sophie is old enough now to understand what he did, and she's angry with him. Max barely remembers when Ryan lived with them full-time. Ryan is experiencing the consequences of his choices, and I have zero sympathy. Jennifer, she's thriving, actually. After the initial devastation, she's found her footing. She got a promotion at work, refinanced the house in her name only, and has started dating someone new, a genuinely nice guy who knows the whole story and loves her anyway. She's in therapy, the kids are in therapy, and they're building a stable, honest life together. She and I text almost daily and have dinner together monthly. She's become one of my closest friends, which is weird when I think about it too hard, so I try not to. Sophie, she's 8 now and doing well considering everything. She's in therapy to process her feelings about her dad and the revelations about her family structure. She still calls me Aunt Nicole and loves when I come over. Recently, she asked me, "Are you glad you found out about us, even though it was sad?" I told her the truth. I'm glad I know the truth, and I'm especially glad I got to meet you. Max. He's 3 now, an energetic toddler with Ryan's eyes and Jennifer's smile. He calls me Cole because he can't quite pronounce Nicole. He has no memory of his parents together, which is probably a blessing. To him, this is normal. Mom, him, Sophie, and various adults who love them, including Aunt Nicole. Me. I'm doing well. Really well, actually. I sold the house and bought a condo downtown, my space, my choice, no memories of Ryan. I got a promotion at work. I'm in a healthy relationship with a man named Andrew who knows my whole story and has been incredibly patient as I work through my trust issues. I'm in therapy, but down to once a month now. I've even started talking about maybe having kids someday, either through fertility treatments or adoption. Andrew and I are taking things slow, but for the first time in years, I'm excited about the future instead of afraid of it. The most unexpected gift from this nightmare, Sophie and Max. I get to be part of their lives, watch them grow up, be a positive adult presence. It's not the motherhood I imagined, but it's something meaningful. Last month was Sophie's 8th birthday. Jennifer threw a party, and I was invited. As I watched Sophie blow out her candles, surrounded by friends and family who love her, I felt this overwhelming sense of gratitude. Not for what happened, I wouldn't wish this experience on anyone, but for the connections that formed in the aftermath. Ryan tried to keep his two lives separate and control both. In the end, he lost both. But Jennifer and I refused to let his lies destroy us. We built something new from the wreckage, an unlikely friendship, a blended support system, a family of choice rather than deception. People still ask how Jennifer and I can be friends. The answer is simple. We survived the same shipwreck. We could have blamed each other, competed, let bitterness consume us. Instead, we chose to help each other swim to shore. To anyone else dealing with betrayal of this magnitude, the initial shock will eventually fade. It doesn't feel like it will, but it does. Therapy is essential. Find a good therapist and do the work. Let yourself grieve. Grieve the relationship you thought you had, the future you imagined, the person you thought your partner was. Trust can be rebuilt, but it takes time and patience, both from yourself and any future partners. Sometimes the most unexpected connections form from tragedy. Be open to them. You're not defined by what happened to you. You're defined by how you respond to it. Ryan's betrayal broke me for a while, but it didn't destroy me. I rebuilt myself into someone stronger, more aware, more compassionate. Someone who can be a good friend to Jennifer, a good aunt figure to Sophie and Max, a good partner to Andrew, and most importantly, a person I'm proud to be. The phone call that revealed my husband's double life was the worst moment of my life. But somehow, a year later, I'm happier than I've been in years. Not because of what happened, but because of who I became while surviving it.
Life is strange like that.